Karim, maybe before we start, can you tell the public a bit about yourself?
I am Karim Abdelrady. I work as a lawyer in the Arabic Network for Human Rights Information. We especially work on journalists and the freedom of expression cases. We make reports about the situation in Egypt and the democratic path in Egypt, and we provide the legal support for journalists and opinion leaders in Egypt who have cases and was arrested or have any problem or issues with the government or with the people in Egypt, because we have the government make violations against press freedom, and there is people in the streets makes violations too, because there is journalists and the media leaders like you just so tell people the journalists is dangerous in Egypt. They bring money from outside, from another countries to publish lies about Egypt and to publish wrong things about Egypt and to make our country in a dangerous. That's all.
So that's your job. Yeah. And one of your clients is a person who was already mentioned by the president of the Dutch Association of Journalists, Thomas Bruning. That's Shaukan, the photographer.
Yes, photographer.
Yes,
I am his
and
lawyer.
you are his lawyer.
Yes.
Yes. Maybe first about him. How is Shaukan at the moment? He is in prison. We know this. When did you see him for the last time? Can you tell him something about his condition?
In the beginning, Shaukan, the young journalist who was lost like 5 years from in the prison because he just go to do his work in Rabat Square. He has been arrested without any reasons. He just was taking a picture for what happened there because the state security asked people in the media, asked the journalists and the NGO and the human rights activists to go to the square to see they will clear the demonstration with the legal ways. That's what not happened. When Shaukan go, he was with a foreigner journalist. He asked one of the police officers in the square to do his job. The police officer told him, yes, okay, you can do your work, no problem. But after a few hours, the police officer changed it. And Shaukan found himself arrested without any reason. He tried to explain to the officers who arrested him the situation, but no one listened to him. And when in the time when they released the foreigner journalists, they arrested Shaukan, maybe because just because he is Egyptian journalist, and his camera is disappeared. We don't know where is his camera until now, and he found himself in the case. Shaukan feel very bad. He just won Gherimo Kano prize for press freedom, but he don't feel that's mean anything when he is behind bars. He feel good, he feel honored, but he always ask, I don't know why I am here. I don't know when I will released. I don't know. I just did my work. When Shaukan arrested, he was 26 years old. Now he more than 13 years old. He lost his life, and he didn't have a good health. He lost his weight. He didn't have a good food, and he don't have he is not in a good place at all. But without no reasons for that.
Okay. I remember, maybe for the audience, for those who most of you of course know, but in 2013 there was the coup against President Morsi by President Sisi, and many people were killed in this Rabat Square. And I think Reina, you were at that time as well in Cairo and also near the square, weren't you?
Yes, I heard. I got a telephone call at 4 o'clock at night from people who were there, and they said, "Rina, the security services are arriving, and we're fleeing, and there's bullets everywhere." And then I decided to go, but my employer said they wrote many emails to say, please don't go, you don't have to go, really, you don't have to go. But I wanted to go myself, but I said, don't worry, I stay at a safe distance. But I was on the side of the square. I was not in the middle, like Shaukan was more deeper in the square. But what I would like to ask the technical staff to show a video from what happened that day, so you know what Shaukan was was photographing that day and why he got arrested. By the way, also four foreign journalists died. Also, Egyptians were killed, and there were some foreign journalists jailed that day, but they were released. And unfortunately, all the Egyptians are still, until today, still in prison.
Tens of thousands of Egyptians took to the streets in Cairo and provinces throughout Egypt to oppose the military's July 3rd ouster of Mohamed Morsi, Egypt's first elected civilian president. The center point really for those protests was in Rabaa al-Adawiyya Square in eastern Cairo, where you had protesters that staged an open-ended sit-in that demanded that the military reinstate Morsi. On August 14th, the government forcefully dispersed the sit-in. Security forces opened fire directly on crowds of largely peaceful protesters. Human Rights Watch spent months going hospital to hospital, morgue by morgue, reviewing death lists, and we've documented at least 817 protesters that were killed that day.
What are the charges against Shaukan? Or is it not known yet?
No, we know that Shaukan has that 12 accused.
Accusations.
Yeah, accusations. The most important and dangerous in this accusation is killed and participate in the demonstration, Rabaa demonstration, and participate in blockade group, the Muslim Brotherhood. But the truth is that Shaukan haven't any political activities before he arrested. He just was working as a photojournalist. The Demotex agency what he was working in send him a letter that to ask him to go to the Rabaa Square to cover what happened, and this paper we provide to prosecute or the judge. And one thing against Shaukan in this case is that the state security report said that Shaukan is a member in Muslim Brotherhood, but just the only evidence in this case is the report, the state security report. But we have many evidence that Shaukan was do his work, like the letter from Demotex or what the a witness said, like the American journalist was arrested with Shaukan, but they released him after a few hours. But Shaukan stayed until now, stayed in the case and stayed in the prison, and that's not legal. It's illegal in Egypt because you can't detention anyone more than 2 years. 2 years in pretrial detention. No more than 2 years. But Shaukan really, and the other in the Rabaa case stayed in the prison for 5 years without any legal.
How is it to work for you as a journalist in such a case? I mean, the authorities clearly do not obey to their own constitution, and so how can you work? And is it possible to achieve something?
We always try to use the legal ways to focus the things, to tell the judges that we have a constitution, we have a law, it's illegal, it's not good for constitution. They say to us, just do your work in the case, and in the end we will We will discuss what will happen. Even if we want a decision right now, because we want our client released, but they did answer. They always ask us to continue our work, even if they in prison, and they will decide at the end of the case.
So you have the possibility to do your work in the courts, but in the end you have to wait as well. You're dependent.
But Shawkan, as example, Shawkan in his investigation, yes. he was without any lawyer. The prosecutor asked him without a lawyer, and that's illegal too. And the Constitution said every person must have his lawyer before the investigation. But we cannot allow it to be with Shawkan in first investigation, and this is very important session, because first session the person said everything about his case, and the first investigation, all the case boiled on it after that.
So is it? Do you see him from time to time? Is it possible to discuss with him?
Yes, I see him right now. I see him every session, every hearing session, and I can visit him in the prison. Right now, yes, we can see him.
What can we in the West do for Shawkan and more general for the freedom of press in Egypt?
The most important thing for prisoners that he wants people never forget him. Talk about him, always ask the government to release him, because that will make his case always have a new thing, will make a government think about what to do with him. Maybe we'll release him at the end, like many cases when we talk about the person, and when we always ask the government, and we talk, the international media talk about him, and the international freedom of expression defender talk about him. That makes government think about the case many times.
Is there still any free press exercise possible in Egypt? Because we have seen from the data the situation is really bad, but is there still some independent press possible? It's
very dangerous and risky job in Egypt. If you are a journalist, maybe you can bet in any time from people or from police officers. Maybe you will arrested and you will spend years in the prison. Maybe you will find a case against you. Maybe you will lose your work. If you are working in Egyptian media, maybe you will lose your work if you try to say the truth, if it's against the government. Now in Egypt we don't have any independent media channels or newspapers, only on the internet, and the government try to, like
we saw it,
like what he said, trying to control the social media and the internet websites. They now discuss new law to manage the websites and the social networks in the internet. They arrested Muhammad Oxygen from few days ago because he have a page on Facebook. He make a videos for public figures and videos from the streets and publish it in his page in Facebook. It's called Oxygen Mass. And he now arrested, and he now they accuse him. He is a member in Muslim Brotherhood. We all know he is haven't any relation with the Muslim Brotherhood, and they maybe will spend years behind bars like Shawkan. We don't know when he will release.
So you work with the Arabic Network for Human Rights Information, and that's an organization of lawyers like you.
Yes.
And are you still able to move relatively freely?
I would like to tell you that
Yeah.
it's a risk too in Egypt if you are work as a human rights defender in Egypt. Gamal Eid, the executive director of this organization.
Your director, isn't it? Gamal Eid.
Gamal Eid
Yeah.
is travel ban. Now we have a travel
okay.
ban, and he can't
Can't leave the country.
Yeah, can't leave the country, and he is and many others in Nadim Center are closed. They
Yeah,
closed.
this was closed. I should have said that.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
closed the Nadim
Sorry, yeah.
in Nadim Center. They closed it. It's dangerous in Egypt to work to defend human rights at all, but we will keep trying.
Of
But
course.
our colleague Malik Adli has been arrested for more than 1 year. Because no saying, just he said that Tirana or Sanafir is Egyptian. So he spent
the islands.
1 year. Yeah, the islands.
Yeah.
He spent more than 1 year in the prison. Everyone in Egypt, everyone, if you are a human rights defender, journalist, or if you are say anything against the government, maybe you will be in the prison.
Okay.
You don't know when.
May I ask one question? Why would the government give a travel ban to Gamal Eid and to others? Are they afraid that they give information to the outside world, or what is the reason behind it?
Maybe they want to control the NGOs in Egypt. They make a case number 173 against NGOs in Egypt. This case have all NGOs was work in a real way, and they travel the ban many of public figures whose work in this organization. We don't know the reason. Maybe they wanted to control the NGOs in Egypt. They don't want them to talk about what happened. They don't want them make a report about what happened in Egypt.
Good. I'm afraid we have to finish this interview, but Karim will be with us in the panel discussion at the end of this debate. And so we're going now to the next part of the program, which is, I think, the interview with Ahmed Samir, isn't it? Or yes. Okay. Please. Then we ask. Thank you very much, Karim. And we would like to ask Ahmed Karim.